We're back. It's been a long time, my friends. Welcome to today's episode on Sterling on Cinemas. That's Cinemas with an S. And today on Marvel Studios' Multiverse Saga, I will be giving you my review on Marvel Studios' The Eternals, the the third film in Marvel Studios' Phase 4. Before I begin, if you are new to this channel, don't forget to follow me on Instagram, subscribe on YouTube, like, share, and leave a comment on both ends because Artemesh commands me and demands that I ask of that because your life depends on it and my life depends on it. So do that in order for help me to help you stay and thrive on this very planet. But before we continue, we must take this time and honor, commemorate, and recognize the man himself, Stanley Martin Lieber, aka Stan the Man Lee, aka the reason why all of this, why the Marvel Universe, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Marvel Comics became possible in the first place. 3 years ago, on this very day, November 12th, 2021, or by 3 years earlier, November 12th, 2018, our beloved Stan the Man Lee, the creator of the likes of Spider-Man, Iron Man, Captain America, pretty much all of the Avengers, all of the X-Men, all of the Fantastic Four, over 700 plus characters. This man right here is responsible for your household names, your household favorites, the superheroes you saw reading in the comics, watching on the cartoons, and watching in the very cinematic universe that we all love today. Thank you, Stan Lee, for your idea. Thank you, Stan Lee, for your mind. Thank you for your love of superheroes. And most importantly, thank you for your persistence. Or in your words, thank you, true believers. Excelsior. Now, Marvel Studios' Eternals features an exciting new team of superheroes in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Ancient beings, ancient immortals who have been living on Earth in secret for thousands of years. They have loved these people since the day they arrived. And when you love something, you protect it. Following the events of Avengers Endgame, an unexpected tragedy forces them out of the shadows to reunite against mankind's most ancient enemy, their disfigured counterparts, the Deviants, who are also immortal and intelligent. In our time, thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago, way before the trending time that we live in, there was a saying by Jesus Christ saying, "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth." Or in this case, for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the Marvel Universe, in the beginning, before the six singularities, the six infinity stones, and the dawn of civilization, came the Celestials, which is their version of a God, the Almighty God. And the Celestials created the Eternals. This right here is a fitting statement that helps us comprehend how much is packed into this one narrative, okay? Directed by Chloe Zhao, Eternals is not a film that gave me expectations or anticipation of that matter, and I ain't the only one. I know I ain't the only one. But I knew that this was going to offer us a perspective on the entirety of the MCU like never before. And leaving this film will make you see this franchise very differently than how you've seen it in the past. Zhao has been given one job, and that is trying to explain and unravel a story containing the following plot details: 7,000 years worth of ancient history, 10 immortal gods, a few of the intergalactic and overwhelmingly gargantuan celestials, which she magnificently pulled off, and the deviants. Four specific things that we, the audience and fans, know nothing much about. Now, all that aside, I'll get back to that in a second. I can understand the different controversies towards certain aspects of the story and what was involved, like how representation is used, like diversity in this film. This movie's all about diversity, like the diversity in the life on Earth, the diversity in the universe, and the diversity within the cast. I mean, you've got a deaf actress, well, a deaf character played by a deaf actress, which was an amazing and most generous thing. One of the most generous things this studios did, given a deaf actress the opportunity to star in a movie like this, an Irish actress, an LGBT character, which is not where I come for these movies for. But anyway, moving on, the diversity in this movie is tight with the cast, within the story, and within the visuals. Chloe Zhao, now, wait, excuse me, sorry. The representation is used throughout, or a few DC Comics references, which I ain't gonna lie, which I understand. The Eternals references DC Comics thrice times, y'all, and y'all know it when you see it if you ain't seen it. And if you've seen it, you shouldn't have missed that. And I am on par with some of them, but it doesn't. None of this bothers me or distracts me from how I feel about the movie overall. Chloe Zhao does a better job at creating visual storytelling than most MCU films, even during the abundance of exposition throughout. The visuals of the golden fluid during the scenes when the Celestials, like those are the most fluid and the most organic during those scenes where they're speaking and communicating with the Eternals, the Celestials. Like watching that play out and watching that present itself is just awe. It's just awe appealing. The visual storytelling is really present from the first frame to the last during cosmic scenes like this one, and historical periods of the film that are shot on location that are very reminiscent of the Bible. I mean, they had Babylon in this movie, so they were going for that, for those biblical references, which I highly respect, Miss Zhao. Chloe Zhao's signature style of Western landscapes and conventional aesthetics helps to even out the cosmic side of the story that involve the complicated plot points for the Emergence, which the concrete information we know about the Emergence is simple. The Emergence is the destruction and the creation of the Celestials within every world. A celestial seed is planted inside of every world, which kind of sounds familiar because there was another celestial in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 that planted his seed in every planet he was on, trying to breed as much as he can and dominate and conquer every planet he could. It's something similar here with the Celestials, but it's a lot more deep and it's a lot more compact. The film's amount of exposition is kind of what makes the story shake a little for me. Now, the necessary exposition is obviously there, but every other revelation would not help mature the narrative. For example, we are told how the Eternals came into existence for the time being, right? They've been there thousands and thousands of years ago, long before Captain America became a first Avenger or the Avengers were formed. But then we were given details that we can only imagine were lies. These later reveals would only contribute to making the audience see the Eternals as less of gods and just another MCU superhero team. Also, a lot of people have been saying this too, how dense the plot itself is. I did not think there was enough room for Chloe Zhao to pack all that exposition in there, but the way she explained tons of plot points that we are unfamiliar with in under 2.5 hours is questionable, yet pardon. See, let me put it this way. It is a double negative that backfires on itself. Because the film turned out to be too dense for the average MCU fan to dissect, and if it did not have all of the exposition it contained, then we would have asked for a little more. So it was kind of like a double risk with Eternals. Like if you didn't have, like you would have either had not enough or too much. And I can understand. I could see how that would play out. Like the movie, how it came to be, packed too much in there, like story-wise. But then if it didn't have what it had, it wouldn't have felt like enough for a regular moviegoer. The Eternals are a group of immortal gods who have been hiding in plain sight throughout history, but have been saving the Earth from Deviants long before the Avengers battled the Chitauri. They are not the first group of unfamiliar superheroes in the MCU, but I kept telling myself that if they could hit a home run success with the Guardians of the Galaxy, then it could work for this team too. They might have godlike powers and are just as emotional as human beings, but not every one of these Eternals were complex enough to be or feel compelling. There are those Eternals who are better through their character and those that are better in their superpowers. Cersei, Icarus, Makari, Ajak, Druig, Gilgamesh, Phastos, Kingo, Sprite, and Thena are the respective Eternals. Marvel Studios is not usually flawed in this arena when it comes to the ensembles, but they did not give each of the Eternals enough of their own individual story to explore. We did get a sense of some of their beliefs, struggles, and where their stance is on how they play a role as being a pawn for the Celestials and lacking any free will to save mankind under every circumstance, especially Druid, because Druid is not really a character I expected to like so much, despite his power presentation being very scarce. Like his usage of power in the coolest ways possible is not there. That description belongs more to Makari because she's awesome. She's awesome. The deaf superhero is so awesome with super speed. Ajak may be the leader of the team, Salma Hayek, but Gemma Chan, Cersei, is the protagonist of Eternals. She is somebody who loves living amongst the human race, and she's enjoyed it. She's actually become very, very addictive to the earthly things. And this makes her most eligible to be the one to make sure that they are safe in the end. Her love affair with Icarus was an on and off again aspect of Eternals that they could have shoved aside, especially since she was more into Kit Harington's Dane Whitman. But it's all right, Cersei. Whether you're with Richard Madden or Kit Harington, you're going to have one Game of Thrones of a relationship, girl. While some of the team, Cersei, Icarus, Makari, Thena, and Ajak respectively, had a better power display, the other three others were three-dimensional lies: Kingo, Phastos, and Gilgamesh. The only ones that I feel fall under both categories in this sense are Sprite and Druid. Now, I will say this: if the movie had replaced the extra exposition with the backstory for each of the Eternals in between then and now, like if we were given a timeline to those characters that we had not caught up with when they were recruited, I think it would have turned out to be a better MCU film. To top it off, we don't get any kind of backstory for Crow and his race of deviants. Or in dummy terms, he's a Malekith type of MCU film. I mean, he's a Malekith type of MCU villain. He sucks. Or we don't get to witness exactly what happened to him that gave him the desire for the Eternals to become extinct. Like he said, you will pay for what you did to my race. What did they do to your race? You became born first. I don't know what they would have done to your race to make you hate them or resent them, Crow. Rotten Tomatoes, as we speak, gives Eternals a 46%, making history as the first MCU film to have a rotten percentage. What? Which is not bad. I mean, it's terrible to look at, but this isn't bad. This is the first time Marvel Studios has had something like this from the critics in their long-running, everlasting streak of well-received comic book films. But here's my take on this. No matter how you feel about Eternals, it is Marvel's most elegant and Oscar bait film to this day out of all of them. It feels very more elegant and more Oscar bait than Black Panther. And this is mostly due to the visual storytelling by the Oscar-winning director, Chloe Zhao. I would exchange the loads of exposition with an adequacy of characterizations that would help these immortals become just as resonant as most MCU heroes. So for that, Eternals deserves a C+, 7.9 SOs out of 10. So for those who have not seen Eternals, do not let Rotten Tomatoes determine on whether you will see this film or not. But for those who have seen it, I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'm glad that you were able to see the beauty of this film despite what the critics say. And I'm glad I was able to enjoy the parts that I could, and I'm glad I was able to point out the weaknesses. So for that, C plus, 7.9 out of 10. Let me know what you think if you've seen it in the comments. And I will see you guys next time with the next MCU film on this playlist. Bye.